Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, researchers, scientists, and practitioners participating in the 20th International Scientific Practical Conference, Traps of Uncertainty Scenarios for a Resilient Region. It is our great pleasure to have today the working group, which is collecting many different researchers from different countries, including Latvia, Lithuania, Nigeria, South Africa. And it is very pleasure for me. I'm Edith Juknevičienė, chairperson of Coordinating Researchers Excellence Network of Šiauliai Academy, Vilnius University, and it is my great pleasure to present to you today's my colleague, moderator of this working session, Professor Adam Jarosz from Warsaw School of Economics, Poland. So today, me and Professor Adam will be your moderators in this working session, and it is our great pleasure to have this scientific discussion on institutional and economic challenges for regions. Today we have planned 8 presentations, so we hope that all participants will be able to connect on time. Of course, we have a little slight changes in the program due to occupation of some presenters, but we hope that all presenters will have a possibility to connect. And due to this, we will have planned that we will have three presentations in the very beginning, and after 3 presentations, Professor Adam Jarosz will moderate a short discussion session, and after this we will have another 3 presentations with the session of questions and discussion, and in the very end you will be able to add more questions or to give your feedback on discussed issues. So dear colleagues, welcome to the International Conference, to this very interesting working session, and it is our great pleasure to have you here, and we hope for very fruitful scientific discussions. First of all, I would like to present our first speaker, Professor Baiba Rivza from the Latvia University of Life Sciences and Technologies. She, together with her colleagues, Maiga, Kruzmetra, and Laura Jeroscenkova, she will give us presentation on very important issue, performance changes in economic system. So, dear Professor, the floor is yours. So we are waiting for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Dear colleagues, our research is a project of the Latvia National Research Program, and the idea of this project is to see the challenges of Latvian state and see how it contend with the international changes in the world, and of course in the European Union. And that means that we need to do this research, then second task is to more cooperate with the ministries and social partners, because we must show that the science is important and it helps to the practitioners for the different projects for the future, for the government, for the also local governments, also for the different unions what we have in Latvia. And the third task is formation of the young scientists. Because it's very important to help young scientists, doctoral students to do their PhD, and also to write articles and to go to conferences and to present. And of course, it's also expensive, and through the project we can help them. And we are very happy that 1/3 of all our researchers, they are doctoral students, and they're from all universities. And the National Research Program task is also to do research together. That different universities are working together and from different branches. This is a multidisciplinary research. And here you see that in our project, we are Academy of Sciences. We have our university in Jelgava, and also universities from the Riga, Latvia University, Stradiņš University, Medical University, and also regional higher education institutions that we are working all together. This is one of the tasks of the National Research Program, to be together, multidisciplinarity, and doctorate students who are also working together with us. And for our project, main tasks, main research points, there's global security of nations and people, and population aging, certification, climate change, digitalization, and radicalization of society, geographical stratification. And these are the main points where we are working these 3 years. And together with these economical changes, it's very important that Europe put emphasis on the smart growth, sustainable growth, and inclusive growth. And that means that all through this smart growth, sustainable growth, inclusive growth, the emphasis is on knowledge, on research. And we must, through the knowledge, understand we must go to the more greener, more effective economy. And that means that through this we are coming to the knowledge-based economy. And knowledge-based economy, this is economy is strongly linked with the research and also education. And from the European Union point of view, the knowledge-based economy, it includes two big parts. This is high-tech, medium-tech manufacturing, its production, and the second part is knowledge-based services. That manufacturing, knowledge-based, and knowledge-based services. And we look how these knowledge-based services and this manufacturing, that together knowledge-based economy, develops in Latvia from 2009 till 2019. What are the problems, how it looks on the regional level, and what are the prognoses for the forecast for the future? This will be in my research here. And here you can see this knowledge-based economy part that links with manufacturing. You can see also all these parts what are in this sector. And here is knowledge-intensive services. It's KISS. And there are 4 groups: information communication, professional technical administration, support, transport and financial insurance activities, education and culture, and also health, human health, and all these. That means that you base this service on your knowledge, or it is medical service, or it is computer service, or it is accountancy service, or it's law service, or it's product as for example project preparing, that, but based on the knowledge. And if we compare Latvia, now we look deeper to look to these regions. On the regions, then take Riga as the capital, that territory around Riga, and all our 4 regions. That we can compare this 2009, this knowledge-based economy segment, and 2019. And we see that the part of the knowledge-based economy, it's really growing. If we compare 2009 and 2019, that in all parts, the growing, there is a growing, but of course we can see that the highest part from this knowledge-based economy, of course, is in Riga, And then Riga, it's near Riga. It's mostly, there are services, knowledge-based services. People are living outside Riga, but working in Riga or from home. And then we can compare regions, and from regions we see that the best situation is in Kurzeme and Zemgale, also where is our university. But in Latgale, there the government and self-government and all we together must think how we can help to Latgale region to develop faster this knowledge-based segment in the future. And if we see this, how it's inside, if we see this manufacturing is what is high-tech, medium-tech manufacturing, and these services, KISS, these four groups, that we see that mostly in Latvia, the 98%, this is knowledge-based services. Actually, the part of manufacturing, as is rather small. And it was small in 2009, and also now it is small. Mostly these are these knowledge-based services that was dominated in 99 and also now. And the highest increase, it's the first group. This is links with the computer services, with IT. And I think that also in this 2020 and 21, what links with the pandemic, this group is growing even faster as it was in these 10 years. And of course, it links from one side from the Industrial Revolution, as we are on this fourth step, and here is now it is sensors and drones and also others, also in the artificial intelligence. But in the future, artificial intelligence will take the role of this decision making, and it's of course even more and more will increase. And here I put the DESI index. DESI index has five parts, and if we compare, this is European Union level, and here is Latvia. We are near EU level, but unfortunately we are third. We are third on this Baltic network, or we can say last one, because Estonia is the first one. It's in this pioneers group, and you are on also little up with UU, and then we are, unfortunately. So, and we are very good in Latvia in this connectivity. Here we are really here that we have very good internet in all over the country, also on countryside, everywhere. We are very good and very good. But actually, we are not so good in using this internet. Because if you take e-commerce or other things that Lithuania are ahead of us, even we have so good possibilities. We need to more teach our entrepreneurs how to use it. I hope that also these 2 years did a lot on this development, but we will see when we see the new figures. And we can say that for sure that this performance in these years, they are good in general, and we are going on the same direction as others European Union countries, and we can see that we are you and also we are on this part where this improvement is more as 20%, and this is really very, very good, this performance from the EU Innovation Scoreboard, that we can say that we are working really both countries good for this period. So, but if we are looking now this new innovative scoreboard, that you see that there is a difference. Till now it was the more strong innovators was between 95 and 125% of the EU average, and moderate innovators was between 50 and 95%, and then we were together. But now they changed the situation. Change, and this was increased from 50 to 70% that you stay in Lithuania, but we are down now. We are on this group emerging innovators, and that means that we must work very hard on this. And then there is conclusions. And conclusions, I can say that this knowledge-based economy is growing. This is mostly in the national cities, as we saw the Riga, but also on the countryside. But the problem and for the future research is to see why in Latgale it's not so good as it in other regions. Where is these differences, or its links with the human, technological, or natural resources? Why it is so? That we must learn. And of course, we must think about that. The mostly this knowledge-based economy in Latvia, it links with the knowledge-intensive services. We must think also more about this manufacturing. Of course, this information communication, it's very important, it's growing, but anyway, the manufacturing is very important. And also this innovation, this how to use this innovation in practical implementations, because on this scoreboard we are now again the last one from Baltic countries. So this again, it's research for future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Professor. Your presentation was wonderful, interesting to find how it is going with the regional development, and especially to which directions the economy should spread, looking to the future. So thank you very much for your nice presentation. I would like to remind all participants that you may give questions to Professor and other presenters in the chat line, as well as by raising a hand during the question session, which we are going to have after free presentation. So Professor, thank you again. It was a very good presentation and a very interesting one. I'm quite sure we will have a lot of questions from this field. So let me introduce the third speaker, Senior Research Associate Xolisile Ngumbela from the University of Johannesburg. So Professor, nice to see you this morning. And I hope that you are feeling good and ready for your presentation.
Thank you very much, colleagues, and good morning to everybody, to the conference organizers and the chairperson. Good morning, Professor. My presentation today, exploring South Africa's food security situation in post-COVID-19 and land reform struggles vis-a-vis the fourth industrial revolution. The warm conference greetings from South Africa, lovely South Africa. That's the content of the presentation. The study brings an argument about food security discourse from a public administration and management point of view. Academics and commentators always theorize about and suggest the most efficient, effective processes in implementing policy for public ideals, taking away food security. As a problem statement, the percentage of the population living in poverty decreased from 66.6% in 2006. And in 2000, as we see during the COVID, you would see that the numbers are doubling rather, because of the COVID scourge, and also the numerous policies, programs and projects government is implementing to reduce poverty and unemployment and inequality are failing the people of the country. South Africa. And my theoretical considerations for this research were based on three theories: human needs, basic needs, and the human rights theory. As we know that the theoretical framework serves as a framework and support for the study's reasoning, the problem statement, and the intent and the importance thereof of the question analysis. With those three theories in mind, my methodology, this paper adopted an interpretive paradigm that utilizes a qualitative research approach with a purpose sampling that was used on 15 participants drawn from the province of the Eastern Cape. As you know that South Africa has got 9 provinces. The participants who responded also to the semi-structured interview questions had identified information on the poverty and landlessness, as well as the document analysis with a thematic analysis that was used to analyze the data. Looking at South Africa's food system, South Africa has a dichotomous food system, and also you find out there's a significant trade-offs with biodiversity, dietary diversity, environmental and sustainability. And as you can see, with electricity, there's still a lack of access to electricity, and there's a lack of access to water and sanitation. And more than 6.8 million people are chronically hungry due to extreme poverty. And that was prior the sketch of COVID-19. And let's see how much more it is now. And the food security development and its challenges. Food security is enshrined in Chapter 2 Bill of Rights in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, especially on the section 27(1)(b) and C, and subsection 28. The two parts of the Constitution suggest that every citizen of South Africa has a right to adequate food, water, and social security as per institution. The research conducted by the National Planning Commission.
Excuse me to interrupt you, but your slides are not going. Maybe something is wrong. Because there is
Professor, we are still on the first slide. I guess you are moving, but we can't see your movement. Yes, now it's moving. If you could, yes, please, to be on the slide you're talking. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Sorry for that. I didn't notice. And I think I'm on that. The food security development and its challenges. There are two aspects of the South Africa existing food security challenges. One, because of misty government policies, food production is deprived of national food requirements. Number two, how to eradicate unequal household distribution, deprivation. As you know that South Africa is amongst the top-ranking countries where there is an inequality, if you're looking at the world rankings. In seeking to resolve these various issues and for political reasons, affirmative action and land reforms are adopted legally, but with the less focus on the gender crisis in the era of conflicting COVID-19, fourth industrialization and climate change management, adaptation and mitigation. Also worth noting, as you can see, that the food security issues in the country, land reform and food security. As we all know, that land plays a key role in South African history and continues to do so, and still remains a source of political instability and development, even in the present scenario. In in the sense of land scarcity, food security, or lack thereof is compromised, promised because the best Arab land is already under cultivation and because poor agricultural practices have contributed to the depletion of large quantities of agricultural land due to unsustainable agricultural practices. Also, due to various new practices adopted by governments and business as a way of tackling food insecurity, climate change also contributes immensely to the depletion of the arable land in South Africa. Desertification activities, deforestation, as well as salination and soil erosion are playing their part, given the land that has always been a contested terrain in the Republic of South Africa. At the same time, there is a tremendous growing demand for non-food products, your feed, your biofuel, your fiber, and they are just putting enormous additional pressure on agricultural production and land use. At the same time, there's a growing evidence which has shown that as a result of globalization and scramble for state resources by large-scale international and local multinational and private individuals, and local nationals' land rights structures remain weak. This with the exception of the certain parts of rural areas where land is less productive, but in the possession of local traditional leaders has contributed to the extinction of customary land rights. And in South Africa, because of the dollar exchange rate, you will find out there's a lot of foreign nationals who are buying land and property in the country. And that also puts its pressure on the land that is on the country. Land reform proponents claim that, along with other rural development programs, the redistribution of farmland will make a major contribution to alleviate poverty if the farmland and the haves and the previous owners of the farms can contribute and donate land for food security to the government. It would help us and assist to a great deal so as to expropriate. And also the revised goals have caused the redistribution deadline of 30% of farmland to be extended to 2014. This was not done due to myriad crises such as your WTO standards cemented by economic globalization and your meltdown and the constitution of the state and property rights, where the Republic of South Africa, prior the current government, the sixth administration, we were talking of the willing seller, willing buyer, which didn't work at all for South Africa. Land laws and policies aimed at securing farm workers and labor tenants' tenure rights have been unsuccessful, and the eviction have persisted, and more people have therefore lost access to rural land than they have gained from the land reform. Nearly 90% of the land was owned by whites at the end of the apartheid in 1994, comprising just 10% of the population. So far, less than 7% of the land has been redistributed, and the ANC-led government seems to have set back its goal of redistribution of the third of the land between 2014 and 2025. And that also brings us to for rural dwellers and for women in particular who are carrying the brunt of poverty and increases. You will find out that there's a lot of personal autonomy and on the rural nature of their food their food security. And also, what we can say here, South Africa is also grappling and is grappling and is a great deal when it comes to food insecurity, because the rural development hasn't taken off and the people in the rural areas remain poor, and especially the women and the youth are not involved in the mainstream economy of the country. Also, noting, coming to climate change and food insecurity, in the 21st century, climate change is considered to pose the greatest threat to agriculture and food security, especially as a source of employment and food supply in many agricultural-based countries, such as South Africa. As a result of the population growth, water scarcity, industrialization, and urbanization, competition over resources, and the use of food versus biofuel becomes an issue. Also, coming into the coping mechanisms to fill the income gaps for respondents who reported a reduction in their income especially during the COVID-19 in South Africa. As according to Statistics South Africa in 2020, as you can see that relief on social relief income from government or NGOs, you will find out they are at 3. And also reduced by spending. You'll find out 74.9 people had to reduce spending because they are not employed, and also they had to rely on agriculture. And also you'll find out there's a heavy reliance of people in South Africa on the social security because of the land degradation and land deprivation. Since the start of the national lockdown, the proportion of respondents who reported experiencing hunger increased from 4.3% to 7%. Of the respondents whose income reduced, 1 out of 10, you'll find that people reduced their own income in the country. So what has the COVID-19 really done? You will find out COVID-19 provided as a causal factor for poor service delivery, exposed SA to poor disaster management strategies. And that's what you will be hearing, that the country was not ready for the disaster. And it has exposed the country as such. The pandemic has exposed and exacerbated the existing vulnerabilities within the country itself. And the COVID-19 outbreak had a major effect on economic performance, social and health system, not necessarily globally, but also in South Africa. Also, the fourth industrial revolution, the approach, the modern technology is also affecting the poor the communities who cannot buy and have a buying power to use the modern technology, which is they are already in distress. SA needs to modernize agriculture as it wants to increase production and service activity through the value chain, providing young people with employment and high incomes in the country. Suffice to say, the demographic divide is not automatic. It requires strong structures, effective job creation strategies, and adequately skilled workforce within the country. South Africa needs to enhance early childhood development, prioritize your TVET colleges efficiently, and also so as to realize the national development plans of the country if it needs to. COVID-19, South Africa went into lockdown on March 2020, and also there were relief measures. Although the relief measures that were there, but they were not enough because the country was already facing food insecurity, way even before the scourge of the COVID. In conclusion, the COVID-19 pandemic is educating us as a country on a daily basis that development and executing actions to reduce the disease effects, it's not an easy one. And the important lesson is that no single actor can manage the nation's current difficulties. We need all heads on board if we are to win on the scourge of COVID-19. And what this paper is recommending, as a researcher, I recommend, we need to stimulate domestic demand through targeted initiatives and campaigns. Also, we need to strengthen the supply side through resource mobilization and investment facilitation. Identify technologies that are being used in the tourism and hospital industries. Explore which of these technologies are available. Determine barriers that inhibit access and the use of these. What I'm promoting here is that the country has to promote tourism and agriculture as a game changers for economic spin-offs, for quick wins, so that if and every homestead household can have a food garden, we can, at least post-COVID, have at least some kind of food in the table. Identify awareness programs that promotes tourism as a source of economic benefit and employment creation, or the economic hard-hit province like the Eastern Cape. Ensure that infrastructure needed for sustainable tourism and hospitality use available investment and also available resources within those areas that are within. In conclusion, in order to avoid future political revolution, land reform and food security are inseparable issues that should be addressed holistically, but prospective farmers from previously disadvantaged groups should be trained on the nitty-gritty of farming modern farming methods and after harvest marketing, because you'll find out at some stage some of the farmers are unable to market their own products. Moreover, Article 25 of the Bill of Rights of the country of the 1996 Constitution disallows government intervention in private property unless it is for public good and to ensure affirmative action. Therefore, the country had to look into that article so that it can be able to intervene and promote food security. Since post-apartheid South Africa's political elite are similarly benefiting from the current status quo. The process of land reform and food security will remain a mirage of the near future, because we'll find that the status quo only benefits the educated elite, not the rural and the already vulnerable. As women in rural areas that care for the needy, such as girls, the sick and the elderly, are excluded from having access to land for food production, even on a very small scale that is unsustainable. The gender problem in land reform calls for questioning, and it remains a sore point. Via their deceptive pricing scheme, global seed companies take the lion's share of the profit from the agricultural industry. They obtain federal funding through Act 15 of 1997, which is monitored by the Department of Agriculture in South Africa. There is a great need for organic agriculture in South Africa. Generally modified should be discouraged. GMO should be discouraged for any major development in the country, and for the sake of good health and wild food and seeds that have been identified in the country since time immemorial should be encouraged for health and also for veterinary issues. Thank you very much, Chair. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. It was really interesting to know more about how COVID pandemic affected South Africa and its regions, and especially due to the food insecurity issues you have challenged during this the first wave, I guess, of pandemic. And we hope to have some questions in the question session because your research is very interesting. So thank you very much, Professor, for sharing this.
So we have two interesting presentations focused mostly on the economic development. And well, the floor is yours. Are there any questions that you would like to ask?
If it's possible, I would like to ask Professor Baiba Rivza. You have mentioned about how the European Innovation Scoreboard results were quite surprising that you dropped to the last group. Do you have some kind of national strategy or already some kind of political agreements how Latvian government will contribute that Latvia will get back to the moderated innovators group? Do you have some governmental decisions already on this?
Yeah, government is working about it, and also for our Academy of Sciences, this is a task now to prepare the possible project directions and also questions, problems, but the state could finance to learn more deeper why it is so, how to develop this innovative line more actively, because actually it's really was surprised that it is so, and it links with this that the methodology change. Until now it was 50%, and now it's 70%. You must be from the average levels that to go to this the second group, and you are in it. But we have I think 65% of the more as average, and that means that we drop down to the third place. That government is working about it, and also our Academy of Sciences we prepared and sent to the Ministry of Economics what our position is and how we see the problem, what to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor.
So, more questions to Professor Rivza? So I would have a question, because you spoke quite a lot about digitalization and how it develops, how this digitalized economy develops. I was wondering, how is Latvia performing in terms of developing innovative technologies? Because this is also a quite important part of this knowledge-based economy. How innovative is the Latvian economy?
Yeah, we are, you see, this depends from the different branches. In some branches, we are very good. For example, with the, if we see IT possibilities, this for some translation tilde is very on top level. It's very good. And also this, we can say about the pharmacy, they are very, very good in this. But actually, there are these the branches where we must work more, and also it links with agriculture, because in agriculture we have top farms where robots are milking cows and so, but in general these are small and middle farms, and there is a lot to do how to think about these innovative lines. That this depends from the branch, but I think that there is a lot to do.
Okay, are there any more questions to Professor Rivza?
Thank you, Professor. I guess if we will have additional questions, we will contact you personally. So thank you very much, and we wish you all the best in your next meeting. Yeah. So see you in the next conference. Yeah. And I guess, dear Adam, we can move to the next presenter, to Professor Xolisile.
Yeah.
And maybe
Thank you so
some
much.
participants will have questions.
Good luck. So if there is some questions, please send to my email, baiba@rivza.llu.lv. Yeah, good. I will.
Yes. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you so much. Yeah, bye.
So yes, now I would like to ask you to if there are any questions to our second presenter, Mr. Ngumbela.
Dear Professor, I have a question. It was really interesting to know more about how this pandemic affected not only economic side, but as well the social welfare of your citizens. And I was wondering what kind of governmental measures were adapted during the pandemic period to avoid such increase in hunger. Did you have some kind of local initiatives or maybe regional initiatives? So what is happening in South Africa to reduce the level of hunger?
Thank you for the question. There were a series of initiatives and interventions by both government and the big businesses. Government came up with the social relief fund, which was in the range of 350 rands in the South African economy, and the unemployed were getting their monies, and also those that were previously employed were paid out of their unemployment insurance fund. And also through the government system, the Department of Labor was also paying the people on the ground some 315. As of what made government and the determination of 350, it was not clear, and it was never a well negotiated settlement with the communities. Suffice to say, even the big industry, the big business, the industry had the food parcels that were distributed to the households, and also the haves were able to put their heads together and feed the other households in the community. Also, the agricultural institutes that are within the country, as you know, that we've got a lot of farms that are previously were owned by whites, and they were also coming into the fore to assist the struggling families to put the food on the table. Suffice to say, the research also shows that the people of South Africa, especially the vulnerable groups, they rely heavily on social relief grants, and not necessarily from the land in terms of food gardens. They were not, because some of them would tell you that were even also unable to buy the seeds and the seedlings to make the plants and grow them, because we don't have any money on us. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? So if there are no questions, I will ask one. I was wondering, because you talked about a lot of problems that South Africa is facing, and especially people in the rural areas. But I would like to ask if there are, any programs that would support the modernization of agriculture, for example, introducing the new technologies. Yes, Professor Rivza, before she left, she told that, for example, in Latvia, there is a big progress in agriculture in terms of mechanization and modern and even digitalization. The same we can observe in Poland, for example. of course, a lot of that is thanks to European agriculture policy performed by the European Union, and Polish and other farmers in the European Union get also a lot of investment funds support. They have financial support to develop this new ways of production. Is South African government doing anything? And the second question related to that, if there are any programs to support those small farmers, because you also mentioned that the problem is that the big companies are occupying big parcels of land and also have big share on the market, and they are supported by the government subsidies. Are there any programs to support to help those small producers, small farmers?
Thanks, Professor Jarosz. I think modernization, by and large, we're still lagging behind as a country. Hence, when I was talking about the fourth industrial revolution, in South Africa, we're still lagging behind. And also, there is a support for small farmers by government. I must suffice to say, it is just a drop in the ocean. It's not enough, and it has never been enough. And this modernization of agriculture, it is still within the selected few. It hasn't massively covered the whole country. And the government also is doing its bit, but it has never been enough because the vast tract of land is within the rural setting. And also, South Africa is very weak in rural development. South Africa is concentrated on the urban areas. Even just recently, as you know, that we had the local government elections, you'll find out that the big tussle, the concentration was within the big metros in the urban areas, not necessarily in the rural setting per se. That is the problem with South Africa.
Thank you very much. So any other questions? So if not, thank you very much, and we will continue with next presentation.
I will take care of the presentation, and Professor Adam Jarosz and Professor Beata Springer are here. So thank you very much for attending, and we hope for your presentation.
So our topic is also related with something that is debated very intensively nowadays, which is sustainable mobility. The idea of this research came from our previous research, where we examined the cycling policy of the Polish cities. Yes, it is important to say a few words, because mostly the cycling policy is performed on this most local level, yes, of the cities and municipalities. Well, here the short definition by Dutch researchers, what is the cycling policy? It is efforts refer to the actions and to the results of other actions taken by local authorities in order to improve the ease of cycling and to encourage the use of bicycle as a means of transport. Yes, and this is important objective of cycling policy, because traditionally cycling is perceived something as a tourism, yes, more like a tourist or leisure activity. But now, the challenge is to make cycling more as a mean of public transport, that the bicycle is something that people use for daily traveling, yes. And if you look at countries that have implemented successful cycling policy, which is the Netherlands, Denmark, and Germany in Europe, they are kind of leading countries in these terms. We can see that it is possible to put or to change the patterns of mobility of quite a lot of people, yes, which also contributes to sustainable policies like, for example, fighting smog or air pollution or congestion, yes, so too heavy traffic in the cities mostly. But as this cycling policy is so focused on the local level, we wanted to examine if there is something done on the regional level, because we had some clues that also the regions do something in terms of cycling policy. So we wanted to have a look at this regional dimension of cycling policy. Yes, just a few more words. Like theoretically, I didn't want to put like a lot of theoretical issues because we don't have that much time for it. But for example, well, here the American researcher with his team puts some elements of cycling policy. Yes, what should be done to improve the comfort of cycling and the safety of cycling and so on, and or generally conditions of cycling. Yes, and this include like planning and implementing different infrastructural elements, which is like the most basic thing, because without good infrastructure it is hard to implement other elements of cycling policy. Yes, and they make kind of a list of what is important for successful cycling infrastructure, which are things like off-street bicycle paths, like most basic things, that the cyclists have a separate route on which they can ride without disturbing the pedestrians, and also without being somehow enclosed in certainty with cars which drive much faster and which can be dangerous. Yes, other things are on-road bicycle lanes or contraflow schemes on one direction streets, for example. And other additional things, or traffic calming in home zones. Place to leave bikes are also very important, so that if you ride bicycle, if you cycle to somewhere, and so that you can leave your bike without any concerns. Yes, or for example, promotion activities. Yes, which are ranging from training how to behave on cycling infrastructure, and to somehow persuade people to change cars to bicycles. Yes, so that they can not overuse their cars when they don't need it. Yes. Another important parts of cycling policy are integration with public transport or bike sharing, something that has become very popular around the world. And in Poland, what we have, yes, as in other countries, the most important, the majority of projects are realized on this local level by the cities and so on. Still in Poland, bicycle is perceived as a leisure activity. Only like 3 to 8% in the most successful cities are of the urban travel are made by bicycle. Yes, so it's very low part. For example, in Netherlands, in Amsterdam, it's about 30%. In Copenhagen, it's even higher. Yes, so it's really in Poland. We can say it's still like at the beginning. Yes, of this change. And of course, I don't need to tell you that also cycling is considered a sustainable mean of transport, because it's powered by your own legs, which doesn't emit, for example, the greenhouse gases. The bicycle needs a lot, way less space than a car, for example, in terms of when you ride, or in terms of parking and so on. So you don't need so many parking slots and so on. And also it's good for people's health, of course. Yes. So the cycling infrastructure develops very dynamically. Yes, if you look on how much kilometers we had, like for example 2010, and now if you compare it, sometimes it grows over 200%. Yes, so really very dynamic. And actually, if you look on the cities, all of them develop very dynamically. Yes, all of them develop their cycling infrastructure in a very dynamic way. So this was the short introduction now to the regional dimension of cycling, yes? So only for those who maybe don't know Poland that well, we have 16 regions which are called voivodeships, województwo, and the Polish, local government structure is kind of three tiers. Here we have municipalities, then we have counties, and then we have this regional dimension, which are the regions which you can see on the map. And regional policies generally kind of some supplementary to other tiers of local government, yes? They have a lot of competences in which they support the municipalities, the counties, the cities, but also they have some own tasks in the regional scale to realize. And so it is a little bit this cycling policy, yes? That the main role of regions in developing cycling projects is kind of coordinative. So coordinating what the counties, municipalities, cities do in order to develop like coherent network of cycling paths, this is still a problem, both in cities and in regional scale, that the cycling paths, we have nice pieces of this, but they are still not, there is no connectivity, which means that still in many places there are no cycling paths, which means that this network is kind of interrupted, yes? So you cannot cycle from point A to point B in many cases on the whole road through the nice and safe cycling route, yes? Polish regions also, of course, support other units, which we will show in a minute, in constructing their paths and the networks, but also they develop their own projects. Yes, they make concepts of networks, of paths or some kind of routes with special, you know, on, for example, picturesque and attractive landscapes, and to promote cycling as also a way of tourism. This is kind of important thing. And they also make some activities in order to promote cycling, but still this promotion of cycling in Poland generally is also a bit problematic and somehow underestimated. Yes, the local governments, they focus on building more than on promoting, I would say this way. In the most of our research, maybe just a short methodological clue that our research is based on the analysis of documents that are available on data, also a bit of statistical data, but main thing are the documents. And for example, if you look kind of in a quantitative way, you can see that 3 regions implemented a document cycling, which is called cycling policy. And for example, the region Dolnośląskie, which is like southwestern part of Poland, implemented this document, which could be even a pattern for such documents. Yeah, it is deep analysis, shows how the region is going to construct their own cycling routes, mostly in rural areas connecting villages and towns, but also they put their like strategies to support other actors, to support the municipalities, the cities, and so on. 5 regions implemented a concept of developing the network of cycling routes, yes, which is kind of smaller perspective, because here they focus only on how to build new routes and not the other things that I mentioned before, yes. For example, one region adopted the concept of development of cycling touristic products, as they called it, yes. So focusing that cycling will be like mostly the tourists in this regional perspective, yes. And also, for example, 2 regions published guidelines for other units. It is kind of manual how to build proper cycling infrastructure, yes. What parameters should they have, what elements, and so on. For example, five regions employ the cycling officer, so this clerk in a city office who is responsible for somehow coordinating the development of cycling infrastructure, but also somehow controlling, also, well, also somehow inventing different issues like promotional actions and things like this, or also contacting other actors, because, for example, NGOs are quite important actors, because there are quite a lot of such cycling associations which also have many ideas how to develop the infrastructure, and this dialogue is also an important thing. Cycling has quite important role in development strategies. Yes, when constructing their strategies, regions somehow acknowledge cycling as more and more important way of moving, of mobility. Yes, that this is also sustainable and environmental friendly and so on. And but two main issues are in these development strategies. The issues I mentioned, like development of infrastructure, mostly network of cycling paths and network of routes, and cycling tourism. This two elements appear in all the strategies that we analyze. Regions as supporters of projects of other tiers. Yes. Here I made also already some comments on this, but also what is important to say that Polish regions are coordinating and kind of distributing the European structural and investment funds through regional operational programs. Yes, and it is quite big support. If you look here on the example of Kujawsko-Pomorskie Voivodeship, they financed or co-financed 55 projects of counties, cities and municipalities, over 31 million euros, overall 19 millions of support, so more than 50%. And they built like over 200 kilometers of cycling paths, yes, which is quite a big number. Yes. But there are also some regional cycling projects of the region themselves, yes, like networks of cycling routes along the regional roads that the regions administrate, using the old railway tracks, for example, is another idea of how this old railway infrastructure could be reused, and this is the way in many cases that they use, because, for example, there are no problems with land ownership, that the route is going to go through private parcels, and there will be some problems with the owners, for example. Or there are some attempts also with transborder projects. I didn't find any Lithuanian involved, but we found some, for example, projects in German-Polish border regions or Polish-Czech border regions or Polish-Slovakian. There are already some ideas of cycling paths that could also bind the regions. Yes, they built paths itself, but also, for example, things like resting places, maps, guides, information boards, or some web pages that show this route and so on. One region also developed bike sharing system, which we'll present in a minute. Here, for example, an example of cycling route projects in Małopolskie in the southern Poland. Yes, here the project which is cooperation of 5 regions along Polish eastern border, also close to Lithuania, which is called Green Velo. And it is like a route along the eastern border of Poland. Also, this bike sharing system, yes, in middle Poland, in Łódź Voivodeship, which is the idea that in the cities that are marked here on the map have the same bike sharing system. So if you go from a smaller town, for example, to this capital of region, to Łódź, you can still use the same system of bike sharing. Integration with regional transport is another issue, because the Polish regions are responsible for administration of regional trains, and some of them also founded companies that are transporting people. There is no one big company as in some countries, but every region has its own company, and also they all allow. First, they make sure that new trains, especially when the trains are modernized or they buy new trains, that they have places for bikes. and they are generally permitted. More problematic it is with bus transport that regions administrate, because the buses are usually coaches, so there is no place for bikes simply. Yes, quite practical things. Also, building bike racks at train stations so that you can use your bike, leave your bike at the train station, go by train somewhere else, and this way part of your travel is done by bicycle. Yes. So this is also kind of important issue. Yes, there are two models of this integration. Either that in the regional trains you have to buy additional tickets, which is not very expensive, as you can see, or you can, in some regions you can transport your bike for free. Very briefly on promotional activities, because also regions are doing some activities, not much, but there are some initiatives. For example, Kujawsko-Pomorskie in central Poland makes such an action, Kujawsko-Pomorskie na rowery, so Kujawsko-Pomorskie on the bicycles, yes? And through this webpage, they have a webpage that you can see on the slide, and they promote different activities like bike races, bike cruises, and things like this, yes? And just shortly to conclude, so cycling policy is becoming more and more important part of local and regional policy. Now it intensifies because of the EU also policies with Green Deal and things like this. It is, of course, an important element of sustainable transport systems. More and more important touristic products. Yes, this is, as I said, something that regions very much focus on and develop. Also, all these cycling routes are also thought to be an important tourist product. Yes, for example, the route is leading from one tourist site to another through picturesque landscape, for example. Yes, but still regions have kind of secondary function in the cycling policy, as the municipalities are the most important actor, but still regions have a lot of tools to develop cycling infrastructure, and more they use it. Yes. But still, there are different approaches in the region. As I said, in Dolnośląskie, for example, it's really going very well. They have adopted different strategies and make cycling one of their priorities. No, it's not like that in all the regions, but still, it's going forward, and they are more and more regions are dealing with this more and more seriously. Yes. So thank you very much for your attention. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer them in the question session.
Thank you very much, Professor Adam and Professor Beata, for your presentation and your research. It is a really important issue connecting us to the sustainable transportation, and it is very connected to regional issues, what we are discussing today. So thank you very much. I'm quite sure we will have some questions in the session after three presentations. And now I would like to invite our researcher, Edith, to make her presentation.
Good morning, everyone. So my paper is centered around the fiscal policy and economic development in Nigeria, a case study of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, that is the ERGP. So the argument of my paper is centered around the idea that it is not enough to make policies, but, and most importantly, the implementation. So you can see in third world countries, the focus seems to be more on policy formation or making of policies, and less attention is paid on the implementation. So the paper argued that it is in the implementation of policies that economic development can actually be achieved, and not just in the making of policy. So to further substantiate this view, the paper examined the impact of the implementation of fiscal policies on economic development by using the Nigeria Economic Recovery and Growth Plan as a case study. And the objectives of the paper include to find out the factors that led to the adoption of the ERGP, the target of the implementing the ERGP, and the impact of the implementation of the ERGP on the Nigerian economy. So if you look at the table 1, you are going to see where I explained the increase in Nigerian economy from the year 2000 or 2004 to 2013. But this increase in Nigerian economy did not reflect on the people's standard of living, as the country is still largely underdeveloped. So when price of oil dropped worldwide in between 2014 and 2016, it had a huge impact on the Nigerian economy. Reason being that the Nigerian economy is a mono-economic system where focus is largely based on crude oil production and exports. So when oil price dropped worldwide, it affected the economy, that the economy even went into a recession in 2016, leading to a negative curve of minus 1.58. As you can see in the table, you can see this in the next table in 2016, where the GDP dropped to minus 1.58. So it was based on this fact that the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan was adopted by the present administration to tackle the issue, the problems in the Nigerian economy. It was adopted as a fiscal policy option, where the government decided to use fiscal policy as a strategy to stimulate the economy by diversing the economy through other sectors, so that focus will not just be on oil, but on other sectors. So, sorry, I can see some errors in my slide. I'm sorry it was made in an hurry, but let me just continue. So with the implementation of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, the Nigerian economy, the policy was adopted in April 2017. And in the same 2017, the Nigerian economy came out of recession, as you can see in the table 3, where it went back to 2.79 in 2017. However, it has been fluctuating since then, where you can see 0.8 in 2018 and 1.93 in 2019. So the paper concluded that it is by implementing the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, which is a fiscal policy option by the Nigerian government, that the country came out of recession in 2017. So the paper concluded that it is by implementing fiscal policies that you can achieve economic development. That if this single policy was implemented and it was able to resuscitate the economy, how much more when other policies are being paid more attention to in terms of implementation. So based on this paper went further to make the following recommendations. First, that the issue of policy implementation should be taken more seriously by government, just as policy making is a serious business. Secondly, the paper recommends that revenues should be made available to, here I said the MSM, that's the medium, small, this micro, small and medium enterprises, and not just this sector, other sectors. Why I mentioned this micro, small and medium enterprises is because this is the major sector that played out during the Nigerian recession, that had to supersede or play in the place of oil production and exports. Then thirdly, for the oil sector, it's already a fact that Nigeria can do little or nothing about international prices. So focus, therefore, should be on how to increase production and local processing, since this can contribute to both economic growth and development, as was seen with the implementation of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. And finally, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan should be revised and extended for more years in order to establish robust institutional arrangements for implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the policy, as this will bring more economic development to Nigeria. So thank you. That's my presentation.
So if there are any questions, the floor is open. You are invited to ask.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning once more. Can I ask from Professor Jarosz, if I'm pronouncing that well, looking into the cycling policy, how did that affect the bylaws when you were looking into the cycling policy? And also, how sustainable is going to be this bicycle rides into the city vis-a-vis the emissions and the stuff? Is it the way to go? I think those are my two questions. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Well, definitely the cycling policy is a way of limiting the emissions. The problem of Polish cities is that, especially now in this time when winter starts, there is a big problem with smog, yes, with air pollution, because well, through the air circulation, when there is the so-called low emissions, yes, it somehow cannot go up, and there is a big problem with that. Well, and cycling is seen as a chance. Well, we don't have data that would make some estimates how much it will lower the emissions. Well, we haven't find any of such research in the Polish scale, but definitely, well, the more cycling for daily travels there will be, the less cars people will use. Yes, and this is and it even now, if you look at you can sometimes find in internet such maps of air pollution. Yes. And you can see that these places, these cities that have big share of bicycle rides in Germany, in Denmark, they have, even though that they are big metropoles, they have sometimes of few million people, still this air pollution is not that big. Yes. And Poland, for example, now is one of the most polluted cities, most polluted areas, or the other words, the area with most polluted cities. Yes. And this is a huge problem. So that's why also this is one of the reasons why the cities and regions helping them invest such well, big money in development of cycling infrastructure. As well, this is of course connected somehow or related to development of public transport. This is another topic, but Polish cities and Polish regions also invest massively in such solutions. Yes. Making the public transport more friendly, more accessible, and well, this way to develop this sustainable mobility and well, reduce the pollution of the air. Yes, which is really problematic in Poland nowadays. Yes? And sorry, what was could you repeat the first question, because I didn't get it, to be honest.
Cycling policy vis-a-vis the bylaws.
What are bylaws?
The municipal laws in terms of the transportation, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So generally, well, well, in the municipalities, they adopt in many cases such well legal laws, local laws, yes, local laws, which are mostly the development strategies of cycling routes and so on. Yeah, so not all of them. For example, we showed that in the regional perspective, like of 16 regions, only 3 have such a document as cycling policy, which is kind of complex analysis and it's kind of strategical document. Yes. In the cities, well, it is better. Out of 16 regional capitals, as far as I remember, 10 have such documents. But usually those which don't have such document, yes, which will address only the cycling issues, they often put the cycling elements into other strategies. For example, now it is very popular that municipalities and cities develop strategies of sustainable mobility, or, for example, low emission mobility. And in there, usually cycling is an important part. Maybe that's why they don't decide to implement a separate document focused only on cycling. Yes. The problem in Poland, which, for example, is kind of contrast to these most successful countries I mentioned, like Lithuania or Denmark, not Lithuania, sorry, Netherlands and Denmark, is that in these countries there was a central government program. Yes, for example, like instruction for building public or like a guide for building public roads, bicycle roads, developed by the central government, which should give the municipalities idea how to do it. Yes, such document in Poland has been published, but only recently, I think maybe 1 or 2 years ago. But more importantly, in Netherlands and in Denmark, there was like a central financial program that would support the development of cycling infrastructure in the city. Unfortunately, we still don't have it in Poland, which is usually a good thing because, for example, if you look at this European funds and cycling projects realized using this sort of financing, usually this is also kind of impulse for the municipalities. Yes, so let's do it because the money is there, so we have to use it. Yeah, and this is good impulse. Probably in Lithuania, Vita is nodding. Probably in Lithuania is quite the same. Yes, and this is something that definitely mobilizes, and well, but still such central program of the government is still missing. Yes. But here the regions play quite important role, as I say, because I showed you the example from one region, but in other it's quite the same, that there are quite a lot of projects with good financing, so really there is quite a lot of money for this, and regions support a lot of such activities of other units of local government.
Thank you so much for Professor Xolisile and Professor Adam and Beata for your answers. If we have more questions, the floor is opened. I have a question maybe for the second presenter, for researcher Edith. I hope that you are still online and ready for the discussion. Dear Edith, yes. You mentioned about the oil sector, which is very influential on Nigeria's economy. But maybe you could identify other sectors which had to get some state, let's say, support to increase and to survive this pandemic period, as this pandemic has changed economy structure in all the world. So maybe you have some insights from the last period during the pandemic. Which sectors should be supported by the government?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Like I mentioned in the work, that the micro, small and medium enterprises sector actually played a huge role during the recession of 2016. So my recommendation is also my recommendation that the government should also focus on that sector, the MSME sector. And this sector has a huge potential to drive the economy to development. Even in other countries, this sector also plays a huge role in the economy of other countries. So I would actually recommend that the government should channel more attention and investment, like provision of loan to this sector, so that they can be able to invest more and then drive the economy forward.
Thank you so much. Dear Adam, do you have some questions, or maybe other participants have?
I would have a short question about Nigeria, because now when this COVID, we could say we are after pandemics, but unfortunately we are still not after. We can see the fourth wave in Europe, but for all the European economies, especially Poland is here somehow affected, is the high inflation rate, because you spoke about fiscal policy. How this problem is, how severe is this problem of inflation in Nigerian economy? Is it a problem? If yes, how big it is? And because, as I say, in Europe we have, Lithuania, I think, as well has this problem now, the high inflation rate. Although it is in the eurozone, we are not. We have still our own currency. How it is in Nigeria? Is it the problematic as well, or, for example, high energy prices, which are one of the reasons of inflation? Do you have such problems?
Of course, we have the problem of inflation. In fact, it's a trending problem right now. Prices of goods and services are on the high, that we are even scared that hunger might ravage the economy very soon, because prices keep going higher every day. The prices you get for a particular product today, by tomorrow it has increased. And some of these problems we can also actually attribute to insecurity in the country, because insecurity is actually discouraging production in Nigeria. And when production is being reduced, that means the available goods will be sold at a very high price. We are experiencing inflation in Nigeria as well.
Thank you so much for questions. And now, if you let us, we could move to the next presenter. I would like to ask if Vilma Tuputienė, our lecturer and researcher, is ready for the presentation.
Yes, I am. So thank you for giving floor for me. It would be very nice to present my research and the ideas regarding the personnel management and specific field of the personnel management. It's assessment or appraisal of performance of personnel. So I would be very glad to have some questions after the presentation, if you will be interested in the presentation. The topic of the presentation is appraisal of personnel performance as a precondition for employee motivation. The main aim of this research that we did last year was to define conceptual framework of personnel appraisal impact on employees' motivation, and to reveal predominant factors of this impact. So we make hypothesis that the balance of characteristics of the performance appraisal system creates precondition for employee satisfaction with the performance appraisal system, what is enhanced their work motivation. So we elaborated online questionnaire and collect the data using the online form. We were used the descriptive statistics for interpretation of the data. And in this presentation, I will present the theoretical part of our research, how we investigate the correlation between performance appraisal as a system and work motivation. And then there will be some data from the empirical research, which helps us to understand how these correlation between satisfaction with the appraisal system impact work motivation of policemen within Telšiai County Police headquarters. So the when we talk about performance performance of the institutions, we have the new approach after wide scale of the reforms in the past decades, and the performance of public institutions, where the performance of public institutions was stressed. So the result-based or goal-oriented management really enrise in those reforms in the past decades, and this actuality of this result-based or goal-oriented management really was connected with efficiency, with the requirements of efficiency and accountability of public institutions' performance. So growing performance orientation and this higher interest in innovative managerial practices in public agencies are really discussed in some specifically designated documents of Europe Commission. As example, excellence in public administration for competitiveness, public administration thematic fiche regarding the quality of public administration. There are elaborated some toolbooks for quality of public administration, and etc. So when we talk about the practical issues of implementation of these result-based or goal-oriented management, we really have not only reforms which were oriented to this issue in the last decades, but as well we have some political documents which are leading public agencies to keep the high quality performance, to keep the accountability and efficiency. But from the other side, when we talk about the scientific or this research view, we see that as well the performance issues are more actual in a lot of publication, and really all those publications oriented in this efficiency. How to employ the efficiency and accountability within public sector. How to propose for the public institutions the optional or really adopted understanding of performance management. This performance management approach and this theoretical discourse of this approach determines performance management as a wide variety of activities. So it's like complex view on all activities, policies, procedures, and decisions or actions. And those actions in this theoretical discourse usually are designed to help employees to improve their performance. So when we take the performance management approach, we understand that the traditional HR, human resource management, need to be more oriented not just to this administrative approach, but as well to take the different or this more modern approach when we talk that the aim of organization or all the actions that organization apply need to be designed to help employees, need to be designed to make some high impact on employees' behavior. And the behavior need to be focused on improving their performance. As more and more this modern approach of performance management and HR human resource management, this approach are concentrated or focused on this impact on employees' behavior. So employee performance appraisal as one of the connected parts of the performance management, it could be named as a base point for the development of performance management systems. So really this system needs to be focused on improving individual performance, but with the consistency with the strategic goals of public agency. So in this, and that is the main point of the of our research, that each activity in the performance management system need to be focused on this correlation or between individual performance and the stream of quality of individual performance in connection, in correlation with the strategic goals of public agencies. So it's like leveraging of individual goals and strategical goals of public agency. So when we talk about this theoretical framework of our research, we start from determination of performance appraisal system. And really, in the last decades, the performance appraisal system changes. So the as well, not just practical aspects, but as well this theoretical design of performance appraisal system, or even performance management theoretical approach, really the focused not only on this technician side of the performance appraisal or managerial side of the performance appraisal, but really especially when we talk about the employee work performance or employee job results appraisal, the operationalization of this assessing of these job results was determined as a comprehensive evaluative approach to managing or to managerial actions of seeking to make the performance appraisal system effective. It's not just performance appraisal as technical or administrative action, but looking at the performance appraisal, and especially when we talk about employee performance appraisal, looking at the performance appraisal as the part of the all performance management system, which should be oriented to the same goal of all institutions, of all public agency. So major outcomes of this effective performance appraisal system could be named as those: to improve employee performance. So the main aim of the performance appraisal system, and especially when we talk about the effectiveness of the system, could be named as improvement of employee performance. As well, it is connected or correlated with employee motivation. So when we talk about employee performance improvement, the results of this improvement really motivate employee to seek the higher quality. As well, it helps us if the performance appraisal system is effective. It focuses on reducing of employee turnover, and as well associating rewards and employee performance, establishing quality, and really interlink current, past, and future performance of employees. So when we talk that we look at the all performance management system as a united elements. So performance appraisal as one of the elements of the system should have the same focus to improve the employee performance, not just in the terms of qualitative results, but quantitative results, but as well in the terms of qualitative results, which means that we, when we talk about the result, as well, we need to talk on the same hand. We need to talk about the links between behavior or performance of employee. So if the result is bad, if it's not the satisfaction of the, for example, of the some head of the unit where employees working, but as well it is question about the fit between the employee results and strategical goal of the agency. So this effective performance appraisal system, or it has some abbreviation as APA system, established three categories. So the main instrument for measuring or assessing the performance is criteria. So when this approach, the approach of this effective appraisal system helps to understand the categories of measurement criteria. So it is why we need, when we create categories, we need to have the question, to raise the question, purposefulness of appraisal. So the utilization or the question why we need to measure performance, why we need to introduce one or another criteria for in these measurement instruments. The next one is qualitative. It's mean fairness, justice, or why, or how we measure the criteria. But it's not just measuring the quantitative results, but we measure the criteria in the frame of this fairness of all the system. How it helps us to find the rational measurement criteria. And quantitative criteria, it is accuracy, or by whom, or how it is implemented. So all these three categories really could help us understand the effectiveness of the performance appraisal system. So effectiveness of appraisal system depends not only on how well we elaborate the system, but mainly on reactions and feedback of employees. This suggests that employee feedback is critical factor when we trying to understand how effective is our appraisal system. Employee reactions and feedback. So it's not just like administrative instrument to assess the result, but as well possibility to have the some reaction on assessment. How the assessment, how employee is satisfied, not just with the results of the assessment, but as well with the all assessment procedures. So after this quite long, quite wide theoretical findings, we have several conclusions of the theoretical part, which helps us to form the instrument for assessing the instruments trying to measure the satisfaction and motivation of employees. So the first of our conclusions said that really performance appraisal is probably the most important function of a human HRM system, And this reveals interfaces, obvious interfaces with other HR management functions. So the interface with the performance management and HR functions making performance appraisal an axis of the human resource management system. So the second conclusion that we came was that the stimulation of motivation is singled out as one of the goals of the performance appraisal. So the performance appraisal is not just to count and to find the achievements, but as well to stimulate the motivation. Moreover, the employee satisfaction with the performance appraisal system really has a positive effect on employee motivation. We find a lot of research and empirical findings that the employee that motivation really consists not only general motivation criteria, but the performance management and the special performance appraisal feedback led us to make a higher impact on employee motivation. And the third one, that really factors which could determine satisfaction with the performance appraisal system are really predetermination, need to be put really before the construction of all performance appraisal system. So it really could help us to understand what goals of performance, how to get feedback, what is the fair performance appraisal, and really an anticipation of performance goal. So all these empirical findings helps us to elaborate the basis of empirical research. So Equal proposed the quite clearly determined how the Reti reactions are connected, the model, how the Reti reactions are connected with three categories, with purposefulness of performance appraisal, with the accuracy of performance appraisal, and with the fairness of performance appraisal. So we took as our basis for our research model of mentioned our author, which helps us to understand how the performance appraisal system could be elaborated for the positive Reti reaction, for the positive Reti reaction. And the next step, what we did, could I please return? So this this model could be named as EPA, this effective performance appraisal system. So APA abbreviation means that the effective performance appraisal system is based on Reti reactions. Not only on this construction of all the system, but as well it needs to be taken in account what reactions, what Reti reactions we could expect on the when we apply this system. So a theoretical model of performance appraisal impact on employee motivation. We found one researcher who made the theoretical model of this, what impact of this EPA model, how we could measure the impact of the APA model when we talk about the enhancing the Reti motivation through the satisfaction. So really we use this model for forming the questionnaire that we elaborated, and we understand that really these appraisal characteristics, perceived fairness and accuracy, make impact on appraisal satisfaction or satisfaction with the appraisal system or with the appraisal procedures, and the positive satisfaction enhance the motivation. So our empirical research was, we made some questionnaire, and this survey consists of two parts. So it's individual characteristics of respondents and determination of dominating performance appraisal factors which influences motivation. And the questionnaire consists of 4 blocks. Those blocks were based on 2 modules that we discussed before, and the statistical confidence level of our research was quite high, and Cronbach alpha coefficients of the entire questionnaire scales really states validity of our questionnaire and what results we have of our questionnairing. So our study did not reveal significant differences between positive and negative scores when we talk about the overall characteristics of the sustainable appraisal system. But however, the statement, one of the statements, which was regarding the remuneration linked to the performance appraisal, received the most full acceptance. So as many as 43 fully agreed with this statement that the remuneration, if it is linked to the performance appraisal, really it makes a positive impact on the motivation of employees. So we make several conclusions. So really, this study helps us to reveal that really a low level of satisfaction of our respondents or with the performance appraisal system is focused on the errors in some processes and inadequate regulation of procedures. So in insufficient feedback and fair performance appraisal and the dependence on of the expected remuneration on financial resources really affected respondents' satisfaction very negatively. The results of the survey demonstrate that respondents understand the performance system in this systematical way, and in which all of the characteristics defined in the theoretical model were evaluated equally. So the balance of performance evaluation characteristics is disclosed, that the positive the satisfaction with the evaluation system is based on the balance of all characteristics. And this confirmed our hypothesis that the balance of characteristics of the performance appraisal system of police officers creates precondition for employee satisfaction, and which is leading to the higher motivation. So that is the short presentation of our results. It will be elaborated in the very close future, and we expect that we will prepare the publication in some journals, and we expect that the publication will have some attention because especially when we talk about these public sector statutory of policemen, statutory servants as policemen. So the performance appraisal and the motivation to serve to the state, to serve to the higher aims of their job, really helps to, or it's necessary when we elaborate some managerial systems.
Thank you very much, Vilma, for your very interesting presentation with some empirical results already from some police headquarters.
The topic was formulated quite generally, assessment of personal performance. Do you research only enterprises and business subjects, business organization, or do you research public administration, for example, as well? How they make their this appraisal systems and make their employees to work more efficiently?
We research just public administrations. The first research, just only public. The first research was applied on policemen. It's what is the right title? Is statutory servants, so police officers. And later on, we will see how we will apply, but it's just for public sector. As it has additional things, additional determinations, for example, as ethics and all like that, those things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for both presenters for your interesting presentations. If other participants have some additional questions, you may give those questions online, and I guess our presenters may answer in writing as well. And now I would like to move to our last presenters, two presenters who are here already. So I would like to invite PhD student Deputy Mayor Tomas Martinaitis, Vytautas Magnus University and Akmenė District Municipality presenting. So Tomas, are you ready with the presentation?
Thank you for this opportunity to present my research in this year's conference. A year ago, I also participated in quite a similar conference here. However, during this year, I can share with you the results of my research, and also I a bit actualize it by the recent data that was more related with the COVID-19 pandemics. And during my presentation, I will try my presentation will be divided in 6 different parts. First of all, I will present this idea of smart social system. Afterwards, I will try to explain you how this theory can be applied to municipality and what is smart municipality. Afterwards, I will tell you more about the dimension of smart municipality, how it could be measured and what could be done. After that, the few practical examples of the expression of those dimensions in the special time of the COVID-19 pandemics. Then the last part of my presentation would be the expression of the municipality as a smart social system, how it was measured in my research, and what are the strongest parts and more difficult parts of this theory applied to the smart municipality level. And I will conclude with what could be done in order to increase the smartness of municipalities in Lithuanian municipalities case. So to start with a recent time, I could say that COVID-19 crisis had also increased the pressure on national and local authorities to find appropriate ways of managing and organizing the activities of governments, and the public sector has more to address socio-economic problems more quickly and more efficiently. And in this situation of drastic uncertainty, what we have now in COVID-19 pandemics, and in this kind of environment, this concept of smartness, I believe, is very much in a need and could help us a lot. And what is that? This smartness, what we're talking about? I would use the theory background of Juknevičienė and Juknevičius that was created in 2014. And what they presented was this idea of smartness. It is the ability to quickly and ingeniously adapt to the condition of a changing environment by making adequate decisions and using them to achieve that ultimate goal. So you could see that this smartest concept in recent times is even more active. What else Jucevičius and Jucevičienė have done a bit later in 2017, they present the attributes of the smartness, how it could be measured in a case of smart social system, and they had created 8 different attributes to talk about in this smart social system. This is the attributes of intelligence, agility, network, sustainability, knowledge-driven smart social system, how this smart social system is innovative, digital, and learning, and how those 8 different abilities works together defines how the system, how smart system is. And in order to acquire it to the municipal level, I used the model of Sinkienė and Grumanite created in 2014 in order to define a smart region. And what those academics has done, they define smart region as the combination of 3 different areas: smart society, smart public governance, and smart economy. And in infrastructure and environment of special culture and etc. And therefore, how the smart region could be defined. And this model of Grumanite and Sinkienė very well combines with a Lithuanian progress strategy, Lithuania 2030. You could also see the similarities of 3 different areas: the smart public governance, smart society, and smart economy going up together. And this model very well goes together with this national Lithuanian strategy. And to talk more about those different areas, 3 different areas, also some academical background was made in 2017. Bruneckienė and Jucevičius defined more what the smart economy could be and how could it be measured. They provided the actual quantitative and qualitative attributes, how it could be measured. And yeah, we also talking about the same 8 different attributes as I presented you before. And in case of smart public governments, the research was done by Juknevičienė, Systems Leiden, and Ngumbela, and they also looked at those 8 different attributes and created a model which could help elaborate and research the smart government's field. And what they had created, this 4 different ways to evaluate public governments, and they were talking about strategic dynamism, cross-sectoral collaboration, empowered citizenship, and intersectoral collaboration. And in my case, I try to think, and in my research that I have done, I try to use that informational theoretical background that was created in order to measure the regional and national level of smartness in our country, and try to go into lower local government level, and therefore in the smart community area, not so much research has been done in Lithuania and in general and in the whole world, academic world. So I try to use all those similar 8 attributes and try to look from the community perspective. And I created the questionnaire and some quantitative tools how this smartness of smart community could be evaluated. And also the recent COVID pandemics created a perfect opportunity to research how much the municipalities were ready to adapt in this uncertain environment, and how quickly and efficiently they did this in this times. And this helped me to look closer to the strategic dynamism dimension that Juknevičienė and all others researchers were provided. And I will show you an example of this in the case of public government, in the case of central government money that was given to stimulate the economics, and how the municipalities were ready to use them, and to give you more information about this time, 225 million euros were given to municipalities, and the questions in this time was how well municipalities were ready to use their money, and how they were willing to take the risks to take the money and implement the projects. And also in this time, in those money, there were the question of the political leadership, how well it was ready to take responsibility and to use this opportunity in advantage of municipality. And to show you more money of the more data of this, we can I made some analyses how much this economical stimulus money were used in municipalities, and we can see that the 15 municipalities, they were best ready in order to take this money, to take this responsibility and use it for their project. And you can see how much money in general were given to municipalities, but those municipalities were evaluated in order which municipality were best ready according to what person who lived in this municipality. That helped me evaluate those municipalities. And we can see that three most advanced municipalities were Birštonas, Neringa, and Druskininkai. They are kurort municipalities, and also Palanga at the fourth place. And I think that was because of the ideas that they had at the time, where they could use the extra money that might be given, but also the interesting cases of many municipalities that I'm working personally in, and also Xolisile and Trake, you know, how they managed to go in this leading municipalities, this leading line in order to acquire this money. And the other case is the case of road development program that was also used in order to improve the infrastructure of the roads, and how much willing the municipalities were ready to take the risk to use this money. And you can see this in this slide, how much money were given to the different municipalities in this case. And on the next slide, on the left side, you can see how much money were given in 2019 before the pandemics, and on the right side in 2020 after in the years of pandemics. And those black bolded municipalities are those who were who used this extra money better, and were willing to take the risks and managed to implement the projects that they're obliged to implement. And the case of how it was done, and it was very interesting to evaluate in my research. Also, those municipalities, Rietavas, Kalvarija, Trakei, Akmenė, once again, who were seen as those who managed to use the situation even better than before. And the other case, example that I want to give you, is the dimension of networking that was also very much could see in pandemic worlds. And here in this slide you can see the map that was created in our Ministry of Interior Affairs, how they imagine how the further European Union money could be spent in order to increase the network of Lithuanian municipalities in providing of public services. And this very well combines with the Ministry of Health Affairs plan how to cope with the COVID pandemics, and when a health system clusters could be organized in order to provide health services in this pandemic world. This also shows how much the network network dimension was put in a mind of ministries, and how much it was used. Also, it very much combines, and therefore the importance of networking in this COVID in the pandemic situation. And during my research, I questioned different experts, what was most important in this pandemic time, and I would like to share with you some of the quotes and what they were putting in attention in this situation. So this what was said was that the public sector has been faster in adapting to environment condition in the current situation. So this important thing was ability to adapt. They also said that the success story of our municipality in attracting investment has been thanks to successful homework. So what was also important in this time was properly made homework of preparation to use the possibility and opportunity in this time. Also, when the challenge arises, the role of leaders is crucial, the experts said, and this shows the importance of leadership in the municipalities in order to be ready to cope with the challenges that come. And what else was said, it is the impossibility to assess the whole public sector in the same way. Some municipalities adapt to and react faster, others slower. This often depends on the role of municipal leaders. The current age is changing very fast, and the public sector must be able to react quickly if it is to realize its potential. This also shows that different municipalities in this time manage to achieve different results, and their ability to adapt is very important in this time. And at the end of this is my last part of my presentation. In my research, I evaluate how those different dimensions, different attributes, how strong they are in a local municipal level. I interviewed the different experts, and just to give you the view, where we are now in Lithuania. So in the field of smart economy, according to the experts, we are stronger in the cases of welfare, general welfare, and in ability of learning and agility. However, this entrepreneurship and intelligence is weaker in Lithuanian municipalities' case. In the case of smart public governance, we could see that those areas are pretty more equal. However, this intersectional collaboration is a bit weaker than average and what would be expecting. And in the case of smart community, we could say that there are four the dimensions where we could say that we are quite stronger. This is digitality, knowledge-driven and learning and sustainability. However, general intelligence and social responsible attribute is a bit weaker than average that would be expected. And this is the whole table to show you the clearer view. And this slide just shows a bit different point of view, how we could see in this expression of the smartness of Lithuanian municipalities. And to finish up, I would like to finish with the information what could be done and what was more important, what we learned from this pandemics and in general by looking in the expression of the dimension of smart social system in a municipalities area. So first of all, what is important is to invest more in the skills of leaders in local government and the development of competences of people working in the public sector. If we want to be more smart, if we want to increase the level of smartness in a local level, we need to invest more in our leaders. What else could be done? It is to improve the level of digitalization and business structures and society in general. This also might help us increase the smartness in a local level. To add more, it is important to strengthen the expression of knowledge and innovation dimension at local level, to take sustainability into account when planning the investments. And this is also very important in recent time, because we are talking more and more about sustainability, and for all the areas to understand properly what sustainability is and how to do with it and what could be done is very important. And also it's important to promote the initiative of people to protect the environment. I am talking more about a smart community area, just to educate people, to give them the ability to learn from the best examples in order to be more environment friendly. And to finish up, it's just also important to keep in mind the importance of cooperation and dissemination of good examples and good initiative. This cooperation spirit we are lacking in our country in general, also in a local level. We could see some good examples and how useful and important they are, but also we need to improve this cooperation spirit in general. So yeah, that's all of my presentation, and your questions are welcome.
Thank you very much, Tommy, for your presentation. It was really interesting one, but we are running to the last our presentation made by dear Justyna Zabrowska. She is coming from the University of Wrocław, Poland. So, Justyna, if you could try to share your presentation, and we will come back to the question session after your presentation to Thomas and to you, okay?
My name is Justyna Zabrowska and I'm an assistant professor at the Institute of Economic Science at the University of Wrocław in Poland. I'm really pleased to introduce you to the topic of sharing economy. This is an area of the economy that I have been researching for several years, and I still wonder how many aspects that are still to be explored. Sorry, I will not provide the presentation due to some technical issues. I'm using my phones, but I will be happy to pass it on to you after my speech. Let's start. Activities with the sharing economy are in precarious situation due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And even though the sharing economy is considered a distributive phenomenon, especially in the accommodation and transport sectors, the COVID-19 has raised concern about its survivability, and thousands of people have lost their jobs. The value of sharing economy firms has dropped, and many service providers have no other option but to stop working. So understanding the effect of COVID-19 pandemic on the sharing economic sector is therefore essential. Unfortunately, as one crisis subsides another, maybe in the making, but the long-term economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemics are still unfolding, triggering unemployment and hardship across the globe. At the same time, spurred the misinformation on social media, partisanship threats the stability of the global political system, and moreover, climate change and biodiversity loss challenge our society and ecosystems. And the sharing economy offers solutions to many of these challenges, with its potential to advance sustainable consumption and production by improving resources efficiency, reducing waste generation from the production of new assets, democratizing consumption, and creating strong and resilient communities. So however, as we look to rebuild our economics, this is only possible of sharing platforms can effectively and adequately respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. But what is the sharing? What is the sharing economy? The sharing economy has allowed travelers to organize their trips in many ways. They can book a room through, for example, Airbnb, travel in a car booked on Uber, BlaBlaCar, or something like that, eat food made by locals with Eatwith or Eataway or Quertes, move around a city with a shared bike, and enjoy local attractions with other applications, all at a lower price, and then they would conventionally pay. There will be growing pains along the way and more horror stories, no doubt, but the sharing economy is here to stay. Some forecasts indicate that the global sharing economy market is expected to grow from $15 billion in 2015 to $335 million in 2025. And however, the COVID-19 has radically affected the sharing economy. While few businesses have avoided the unprecedented disruption of the pandemic, the sharing economy sector has been particularly affected since the World Health Organization declared the novel coronavirus outbreak public emergency of international concern on 2020. And however, the importance of sharing is gaining growing attention in the COVID-19 area, because many sectors such as healthcare, tourism, and some restaurants are closely related to the sharing economy, especially in bigger cities. The COVID-19 encourages firms to embrace openness in sharing information. So the sharing economy is defined as people coordinating the acquisition and distribution of a resource for a fee or other compensation, and many economic, social, and some technological factors have positioned the sharing economy as a promising phenomenon. So there are numerous sorts of sharing economy activities, and grouping them under a single category would be unproductive. So the sharing economy focuses on serving underutilized resources, those promoting efficiency, promoting community, some sustainability, with the latter being a key concern of businesses, and whether services provided such as Uber drivers, such as Uber Eats, delivery agents, and Airbnb hosts should be considered employees, contractors, or workers is under serious debate, because sharing platforms consider service providers, for example, Uber drivers, Airbnb hosts as contractors, those offloading the responsibility for insurance and social benefits. And finally, trends we see throughout society will likely affect sharing platforms in how they operate, including increased video conferencing and teleworking, changing mobility habits, whether biking or using some autonomous electric vehicles, may upend car sharing business models. We must also consider how platforms and specific response strategies contribute to improve our environmental or social outcomes. As the pandemic subsides, all countries and communities will face economic hardship and political instability as we collectively wrestle with the best way to overcome these challenges and to build more and more sustainable societies. In doing so, the growth paradigm may need to be revisited and revised, considering whether responses fit the scale for the local context and needs of the people and planet. And because of COVID-19, the sharing economy customers needed to cancel some accommodation bookings, and most people stopped using, for example, Uber, Trafficar, BlaBlaCar service. Consequently, these platforms struggled to keep customers and service providers as well as their investors happy. Those anxiety had a ripple effect through the different completely different levels of the sharing economy activity. And dissatisfied customers and services providers flooded social media with criticism. For example, customers complained about having to prove that they could not travel due to the national safety measures in order to obtain a refund from the platforms. And the number of guests staying in the sharing economy properties also decreased significantly, and those who did turn up were concerned with the COVID-19, and some sharing economy services came to complete halt in various cities, and some customers had difficulty traveling, especially for urgent matters. And instead of refunding payments, sharing economy platforms offered credit for future use, but customers wanted their money back, right? So service providers were also highly concerned. Many hosts treat in as their full-time occupation and have multiple properties that are rented from property owners, so they are in a highly vulnerable situation. The occupancy rate of sharing economy property was 0 in many cities, as for example, host in Malaysia indicated. Pre-COVID-19, it was rented 10 out of 30 days, now 0. So some sharing economy drivers, meanwhile, have been told that their accounts have been suspended due to the public health concern. So passengers affected by the COVID-19 can also pass the virus to drivers. So many drivers have stopped working over fears of being infected. So some drivers are dire situation, however, because they have no access to unemployment benefits, so they have no choice but to drive if they are to provide for their families. And particularly gruesome indicate occurred in, for example, London, when a driver died after being exposed to repeated coughing from a female passenger, as the final message from the formerly healthy Uber driver to his family indicate, "I'm really scared, pray for me." So considering the COVID-19 as an unusual crisis, I try to indicate a range of some theoretical implications. The sharing economy is an integral part of millions of people across the world, and the COVID-19 hit the sharing economy activities severely. And to minimize the adverse effect of the COVID-19 on the sharing economy, developing insurance policies treat service providers more likely employees, and implement safety measures are necessary so that sharing economy doesn't receive backlash for their guileful business practices. So the results elucidate the state of sharing economy in the COVID-19 crisis. Many sharing economy firms have started training programs and about safety. So the sharing economy firms are highly criticized for many reasons, and the COVID-19 has intensified the criticism further, promoting the sharing economy firms to rethink their business strategy. They need to have policies that protect their key stakeholders, and however, they are expected to remain dominant in their representative industries, even though customers may be disgruntled with the platforms. They don't have any better options for their future travel plans, so many people will continue using sharing service in the future. Many platforms rapidly became large and extremely profitable, and their service providers were earning money than they expected without much difficulty. And however, they didn't hit issues that other firms and service providers have to consider, such as tax, safety, risk, hygiene, and so on. a key concern for service providers is balancing health and livelihood. Without income, they cannot support their families, but working during the COVID-19 pandemic may put them at risk. So it's apparent that city authorities will impose stringent rules on the sharing economy services so that they can gain more tax revenues. Moreover, safety and hygiene issues will become more prominent in the future. Service providers may need to provide cleaning demonstrations to potential customers to convenience them of their emphasis on hygiene. The COVID-19 is also making insurance, especially for drivers, passengers, imperative. Moreover, governments may force sharing platforms to treat their contractors, service providers as some sort of employees, so they don't suffer financially in crisis periods. So no other industry has experienced such massive job losses and drops in income. Some mechanisms are therefore needed to safeguard incomes for service providers. Some social distancing is also a key issue in sharing services, such as coming up with car designs that can shield drivers and passengers from viral transmission. And sharing platforms have received criticism from various quarters. The larger platforms will likely take corrective measures to convenience their critics that they are not greedy, profit-obsessed firms that don't consider the well-being of people and communicates. So they have already taken some steps in this direction, including long and short-term strategies to help cope with the COVID-19 crisis and the period afterwards. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak briefly. If anyone has a question, I will be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Professor Justina, for your nice presentation about COVID influence on our economy. Thomas, you was talking about smart municipalities. And do you see some progress of smartness in municipalities during the time periods, maybe in comparison 10 years ago? Are there some changes already?
Of course, there are. Even in my presentation, I focused more on the pandemic times. And during this pandemic times, we as a country and EU in general, I believe, in the whole world, invest more in a digital sphere. This is also one of the attributes of smart social system, smart municipality, and also all those lessons that we received as a country, as a municipalities during this time was very much beneficial, because this was the best time to look how much we are ready to adapt, how much we are ready to take responsibility. I mean, I'm talking about this agility attribute, about this fast reaction attribute that also very much related with the smartness. So I have no data what has changed during the last 10 years, but even the last 2 or 3 years was very much challenging, and also I believe helped us increase in this field a lot.
Now I know what I wanted to ask.
Please.
Because you focused actually on those different smart solutions, referring to the communities, to the municipalities, but also to local economy and building smart communities as well. But I would like to ask a little bit more practical question, because of course there was also in Poland a big debate on the reaction of Polish municipalities and cities to the pandemic. And I would like to ask you, how has the budgetary situation of the Lithuanian municipality changed? Were there big problems with, incomes of municipality due to, for example, lower lower tax payments by the people who didn't work because of lockdown? Were there any government programs? For example, you showed us the program, the investment program referring to the building of roads, but were there any other things? What was the policy? And how big was the problem of
I believe I understand the question. I can try to answer it. Yeah, to speak in general, we as a country and also the municipalities wasn't so much affected by the economical downturn. We quite not felt it too much. I could say now at the beginning of December, we are receiving the numbers, of our budgets because it was created by the money that also central government gave us according to the economical situation. So we are fulfilling the plans and even receiving some extra, all the municipalities in general, as a country itself also. So I could say that when we're talking about budget, we didn't receive any downturn. Even we fulfilled the plans and even get some extra. The other thing is that there are very big restriction to the local municipality levels budgets from the central government, basically, because you probably know that the European Central Bank, they take down some restrictions in order during this time to allow countries to borrow more money. However, even so, our country itself can borrow more cheaply. Municipalities can't do it themselves because there are certain limits put on municipalities by the central government. And this is a very difficult situation now because we see, how much more European Union money coming up in the next financial period. And even so that there are big amount of money that's possible to take in order to invest in infrastructure in other fields. But municipalities do not have the ability to take loans, to borrow more, and it might be very challenging in order to implement those projects because our hands as municipalities are very, very closed. And this is the challenge that we are speaking now with our central government, because we already had the discussion about next year budgets and in general in Lithuania and municipalities level. And still, the central government is not willing to allow municipalities to borrow more and to invest more. So I could say that there are a lot of money. The economical situation is quite good, at least for now, but the hands of municipalities are quite tight. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to summarize, to ask Adam to summarize very shortly our meeting. And I would like to thank to all presenters and to remind that some certificates of the presentation and participation will be sent by email to everyone the next week. And Adam, if you could say the last word, conclusions of our working session, I would be very grateful.
So in our session we had 8 presentations discussing case studies on different topics. Most of the topics refer to the economy, different aspects of economy, from changes in economy into more digital and innovative in case of Latvia. Then we had the presentation on agriculture in South Africa, which has a lot of severe problems, which originate still from the history of previous decades, even apartheid policies or politics, still there are a lot of challenges that South Africa has to face. Then we talked about, well, a little bit about mobility in the regional perspective, about how regions can contribute to developing cycling policy. Then we spoke about, again, more economic topics, about, well, personal management in public administration, how can it be done more efficient, and how can, well, the employees be encouraged to work better, and how can they become impulses for improving their work and motivation and effectivity and so on. Then we talked about the role of international commercial courts in solving different disputes. We had case studies of Singapore, of Qatar, of the Netherlands, of French, so of Kazakhstan, examples from all over the world, how such courts work and how they operate. Well, at the end, there were two presentations discussing firstly the Lithuanian municipalities and their response to COVID, how the smart municipality can face such challenges, and also how COVID pandemics show the challenges in going in this development or reaching the smart municipality, reaching this construct of smart municipality. And a final presentation at the end discussed the sharing economy and showing how, firstly, what it is, how it developed, and well, we maybe not even we're not even concerned how common it has become, but at the end it has faced a lot of different challenges during pandemics, and this was a big challenge and big problem for such economy, and which we could see on different examples of different branches and companies. So we had a variety of topics, variety of case studies, as well as a variety of countries. So it was very interesting to listen to the presentations. There were several questions also asked and clarified by the presenters. So I would like to thank myself for the session, and well, in my final words, I would like to say that actually this format of online meetings, I can say you were pioneers in this Vita, because I remember that you used to practice it long before the pandemics with inviting people online and sometimes even doing such, combining this online and normal way of proceeding. So you were kind of pioneers in it. Yes, now the pandemics enforced everyone to go online. But you have, you made the route for this years before it has become so common now.
Thank you very much, Adam. It is really important to emphasize that the pandemic situation has changed the format of scientific conferences, but we are lucky. We are still keeping our networking, and we are still keeping our nice relations, good scientific relations to other institutions, to other researchers. So I would like to thank to Professor Adam Jarosz from Poland for his kind moderation of this working session. I would like to thank again to all presenters for very interesting insights and for sharing to each other. And this record of this session will be uploaded to Researchers Excellence Network webpage, where all participants and interested persons can listen again, and to maybe to keep in touch with presenters if they find something in common to research in the future. So thank you everybody for participation, and hope to meet you in other conferences, working sessions, seminars of Researchers Excellence Network. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.